The clown's jacket rode up when he crouched to hand a kid a balloon poodle. And that's when I saw the holster. Not a prop, not a Halloween gag. Real dark leather, worn at the strap, stitching starting to separate at the top. The kind of holster you do not buy at Party City. I grabbed Tyler's sleeve without deciding to. "Don't react," I said. "To what?" His jacket. Left side. Don't look." Tyler looked. He stopped chewing. We were at Hennigan's Orchard Fall Festival, the one off Route 9 outside Shelby Township. Tyler's birthday thing. Him, me, Danielle, Marcus. 400 people. Cider donuts. A cover band butchering The Killers. My brain was working very hard to make what I'd seen into something normal. Cowboy clown gimmick. Prop rental. Some bit nobody explained to the performers, so now they were just walking around with real-looking holsters nobody thought to label. Then the second clown turned, and I saw his. Same holster, same dark leather under the jacket. He was on his phone with his back to the crowd, one hand keeping the fabric tucked. Not quite enough. "Okay," Marcus said quietly. "Okay what?" Danielle asked. "We move, now, like nothing's wrong." My first thought was the security booth by the front entrance. I'd seen it when we came in. 2 guys in yellow vests, probably unarmed, definitely not expecting anything. I looked at the tall clown. He was already watching us across the crowd. If we turned around and made a straight line for the entrance, he'd know exactly where we were headed before we got halfway there. We kept moving. We started through the crowd toward the far end of the vendor row. Walking pace, eyes forward. I kept my breathing even and told myself there was still a rational explanation for all of this. Had to be. The footsteps started about 20 seconds later. Not the crowd shuffle, heavier. 2 sets, keeping exact pace with us. Not gaining, not falling back, matching step for step. I looked back once, fast. The tall clown had stopped doing balloon animals. He was tracking our group through the crowd, said something close to the other one's ear. Then the second one started moving left. Not toward us, not away. He was angling toward the front of the grounds, moving parallel to us, but faster, getting ahead. One behind us, one cutting around to the front. They were flanking. "They know we saw them," Danielle said. "We don't." Tyler, they're moving." I texted Cody while I walked. He was supposed to meet us in about an hour. "Come right now. Don't come inside. Front gate. Just wait." He wrote back, "Why?" "What happened?" and then, "Hello. Please just come. I'll explain." We were running out of open space. The crowd thickened toward the main stage. The tall clown was still behind us. No sign of the second one anywhere, which meant he was already somewhere ahead. The parking lot exit was on the far side of the stage crowd. No way to know if he was already covering it. Tyler pointed at the hay maze along the far side of the grounds. "The maze," he said. I looked at it. Walls. Turns. Separate exits on 3 sides. A way to disappear and come out somewhere different. "Go," I said. I knew something was off about 4 seconds after we walked in. The band noise cut off fast. Dry straw underfoot. Kids laughing somewhere deep in. I stopped and listened. Nothing behind us yet. "We lost them," Tyler said. "Keep moving." We went right, then right again. Dead end. Back left. I had no sense of where we were. Danielle had both hands on the back of my jacket. I reached into my pocket by reflex. Phone was already in my other hand. Grabbed at nothing and kept walking. I was trying to figure out where the footsteps from outside had gone. I couldn't hear them. That didn't make me feel better. It meant I'd lost track of two people with weapons and had no idea which side of which wall either of them was on. Then I heard it. Not footsteps, breathing. Through the straw wall to our left, slow, deliberate. Like someone standing completely still on the other side, tracking the sound of us moving. We all went quiet at the same moment. The breathing stopped too. Tyler was looking at me. The question was obvious without him saying it. Wait for it to move first, or go now. If they were working together, one on the other side of this wall and one somewhere ahead, then staying still just meant getting boxed in quietly. But running meant giving away exactly where we were. I thought about it for about 1 second. Go, I said. We ran, hit a dead end, cut right, left again. I was completely turned around. My lungs were doing something wrong. Each breath felt shallower than the last, like the air wasn't going all the way in. Then something dragged along the outer wall to our right. One slow scrape at shoulder height, moving with us. Then it stopped when we stopped. We all stopped. Danielle caught her foot on something, and I grabbed her arm. My head was stuck on that scrape. The exact second it had gone quiet, like whatever was out there was done moving and had started listening. We found the back exit, and I went through first. The second clown was standing right at the opening, 10 feet, completely still. No balloons, no act. Hands at his sides. The face paint looked different without the festival lights. Flat, wrong colors, just a man. He wasn't performing. His weight was shifted forward on his front foot. I keep coming back to that. His weight was on his front foot. He hadn't been behind us. He'd been waiting. While the tall one tracked us into the maze, this one had circled around to cover the exit. They hadn't been following us. They'd been herding. My legs went before my brain did. I went right past him. He grabbed Tyler. I heard the sound. Fabric, arm, Tyler's voice cutting off mid-breath. And I turned back. Tyler was pulling with both hands, trying to wrench his arm free. The clown held for 2 full seconds, long enough to feel completely intentional. Then Tyler got loose and we were all running. Tyler's right hand was bleeding before we cleared the lot entrance. He didn't notice until later. We hit the lot behind the vendor trailers. Dark, muddy, bad footing. And behind us, I could still hear him. Not running, walking fast and steady, like he knew where this lot ended and what was at the other end of it. Danielle said something about the trailers. Hide behind them. Wait him out. I thought about it for half a second. A man who wasn't panicking, wasn't rushing. If he knew this lot, he probably knew what was behind those trailers too. We kept running. The inside of my mouth tasted like metal. The cover band was still going somewhere behind us. My legs were moving, and somewhere in the back of my head, I had the thought that I needed to zip up my jacket, and I had no idea why that thought was there, and I kept running. Then the shot. 1. I felt the pressure in my sternum before the sound hit. That concussive thud, and then the crack bounced off the trailers, and something struck the metal wall 6 feet to my left. A single hard ring, like a hammer on sheet steel. Nobody said anything. We just ran harder. Danielle was already on 911. Hennigan's Orchard. Shot fired. 2 men. They are following us. Her voice was doing something I'd never heard it do before. Completely flat, like she'd already gone somewhere else. Cody texted, "I'm at the gate where you service road, behind trailers. Now, don't stop." The lot was pitch dark except for one strip of light from a food truck generator. I went down, knee into gravel, and Tyler grabbed my arm without breaking stride. I didn't feel the knee right. Time was doing something, stretching in some places, and dropping out in others. Cody's headlights came down the service road. Passenger door already cracked open before he stopped. We hit the car wrong. Marcus dove into the front. Me and Tyler stacked into the back on top of each other. Danielle still hauling the door shut when Cody floored it. Tires spun once before they caught. I looked back through the rear window. Both clowns were at the edge of the lot. One from behind the trailers, one from the direction of the main grounds. They'd come from different directions. Not chasing, not moving, just standing there, watching us leave. Police were on the grounds before we hit Route 9. The shot had been loud enough. Someone on the main grounds had called it in at the same time Danielle did. The detective who took my statement was careful with her words. She confirmed what they found on the trailer wall. She said one thing before she closed her notebook. Leaving when you did was the right call. That was all she said. I keep thinking about 400 people still at that festival when we ran. The families, the kids with balloon animals, Tyler's birthday. I keep thinking about how I stood there for 10 full seconds, just trying to turn a holster into a prop. They sent the Fall Festival email again last week. I deleted it before I got to the subject line. We heard it about 2 blocks from Marcus's place, and Cam started doing his off-key version of the jingle that made us all stop walking and crack up right there on the sidewalk. That stupid 3-note melody. The one you'd know anywhere, tinny and small, somewhere behind us, looping in the cold air. It was just after midnight. We'd been at the Kellermans for 4 hours, the crowd had thinned out around 11:30, and nobody wanted to pay for an Uber. Standard situation. 4 of us cutting through the neighborhood, breath visible, voices still a little loud from the drinks, not paying much attention to anything. "Who the hell is selling ice cream right now?" Jordan said. Not a question. "Someone optimistic," Marcus said. We laughed. Cam was still humming. The van rolled past us going north on Elmore. White, moving maybe 5 miles per hour. That jingle coming out of a speaker on the roof. December, 32 degrees. Frost sitting on every parked car. It turned the corner and disappeared. Music faded out. We kept walking. Nobody thought about it again. About 3 blocks later, we heard it again. Same melody. Coming from the left now, from Ridgeway, which runs parallel. Getting louder, and then the van crossed the intersection ahead of us. Same crawl, same jingle, and kept going without slowing down. Marcus stopped walking. "Is that the same one?" Nobody had an answer, but it had looked the same. White, no markings, small antenna on the roof. "Maybe it's a route," I said. "A route," Cam said. Midnight, December. We kept walking, but nobody started a new conversation after that. By the time we reached the 7-Eleven on Hargrove, the van had crossed our path twice more. We'd been counting without discussing it. Marcus pulled the door open and said, "I need water." And we all followed him in without saying exactly why. Buzzing overhead light. One cashier on his phone. I grabbed a water I didn't need and positioned myself near the front window. Jordan spent 3 full minutes studying the energy drink cooler. Nobody talked. The van came around the corner while we were inside. It rolled past on Hargrove. Same speed, jingle going. I watched through the glass. The driver's face was pointed directly at the 7-Eleven window. Not a glance, not a check. He held his head turned toward us the entire time the van was visible, watching us through the glass as he rolled past. Marcus set his water down on a random shelf without looking at it. Jordan stepped away from the cooler. The van turned. Music went quiet. "You saw that," Cam said. "Yeah," Marcus said. We waited another 2 minutes before going outside. Nobody said what for. When we came out, the van was parked across Hargrove, 40 yards away, facing us, engine idling, music off, just sitting there in the dark. I held my phone up to get the plates. The rear plate was covered in mud, not road spray, not natural buildup. A deliberate smear, dark and solid, straight across the numbers. You couldn't make out a single digit. "We move," Jordan said. Quiet. We turned east. Fast walk. The van didn't pull out immediately. A block and a half later, I could still hear the engine somewhere behind us, but I couldn't see it. Marcus and Cam split off at Dorman, north toward Marcus's place. I said something about maybe staying together, but it came out as a suggestion, and they were already halfway up the block before I finished. Jordan peeled off at 14th, park shortcut, shorter route home. I stood on the corner of 14th and Elmore and watched him go. Just me now. The street was completely empty in both directions. No cars moving, no dogs, no porch lights on. Then the music came back. Behind me, down Elmore, the way we'd just come from. My legs started moving before I made the conscious decision to move. That's not a figure of speech. I was walking faster before I told myself to walk faster. My hands went cold in a way the air alone didn't fully explain, and my head kept running through the same loop of normal explanations, because for some reason I really needed one of them to still hold up. Late night route, local character everyone else in the neighborhood knows. Something I just didn't understand about how this worked. But the music was keeping my exact pace, not gaining, not falling back. I turned onto Walnut and cut into the park. Dark. One working lamp at the north entrance, everything else shadow. I moved fast, diagonally across the dead grass, past the picnic tables and the locked restroom building. Cold enough that breathing hard actually hurt. By the time I was 2/3 across the open ground, I couldn't hear the music anymore. I slowed. I started telling myself I'd lost it, that the whole night had been coincidences stacked on top of each other, and the cold had made everything feel worse than it was. I started mentally drafting the story I'd tell at the next party. I came out the east exit onto Marion Street. The van was parked at the curb, 20 feet from the park exit. Engine off, lights off, music off. Facing the exact opening I'd just walked out of. My brain went quiet. That specific quiet when you finally stop arguing with yourself. When the last explanation falls apart and there's nothing left to reach for. I didn't head toward my street. I moved left, pressing close to the wall of the apartment building on the corner, and cut behind the parking lot for the laundromat on Marion. A few commercial dumpsters back there. Big plastic ones, industrial size. I got between two of them and crouched down. My mouth was completely dry. Couldn't swallow. I opened my phone to call 911, and then I didn't. I genuinely do not know why. I sat there with the screen lit up, thumb on the keypad, and I locked the phone and pressed it against my chest. I wasn't thinking. My brain was doing something else, something that had nothing to do with rational decisions, like it was waiting for instructions that weren't coming. I waited. Then I heard the van door open. One sound, the latch releasing, the hinges, a pause, then footsteps on the asphalt. One person, moving slow, coming toward the lot. I pressed myself as far back between the dumpsters as I could go. Cold plastic against my spine. My heart was doing something I could feel physically, all the way up in my throat. The footsteps stopped. Then, farther away, a different sound. A sliding door, the side of the van. There were two of them. The footsteps split. One set continuing into the lot. One set heading the other direction toward the park exit. They were covering both ways out. I stopped breathing through my mouth. My pulse was loud enough to hear inside my own head. which had never happened to me before. Every part of my body had reached some kind of agreement to become completely still, without consulting me about it at all. The closer footsteps came into the lot, slow, methodical, not rushed, not searching fast, deliberate, past the first dumpster. They stopped about 10 feet from where I was crouching. I didn't move, didn't look around the edge, didn't breathe. I heard breathing. Not mine. Someone standing somewhere in the dark of that parking lot. Just breathing. Close enough that it was distinct from the wind. Then nothing. A long enough silence that I started to think they'd moved and I'd somehow missed it. Then sirens. Distant. Then closer. Coming up Marion. The footsteps shifted immediately. Fast now. Not careful anymore. I heard one short word, one syllable. Not loud enough to make out. Both sets of footsteps moved quickly back toward the street. The van engine started. It pulled out hard. No music. Gone. I stayed between the dumpsters until I couldn't hear anything except the sirens. Then I stayed longer. My legs had been shaking for a while before I noticed, and when I finally stood up, I had to put one hand against the dumpster to keep steady. 2 patrol cars were stopped on Marion when I came out. Lights going, one officer by a cruiser on his radio, another walking the perimeter of the park exit with a flashlight. I walked toward them, gave my name, answered questions I barely tracked. My voice sounded like it was coming from somewhere behind my left ear, and I kept losing the thread of what I'd already said. They found the van 4 blocks away on Cranmore, ditched behind a strip mall, both doors open, engine still warm. A detective came to my apartment the next morning. She sat across from me at the kitchen table with a notepad and a coffee I made her that she didn't touch. We went through it all again. Times, streets, how long the following lasted, whether I'd seen either of them on foot long enough to describe. Near the end, she told me what they'd found inside. Prepaid phones, several of them, a handheld radio, a street map of the city, paper, folded open, with sections marked in pen, and a stack of printed photographs tucked under the driver's seat. I asked who was in them. She paused. "Not anyone from your group." I asked what she meant by that. She said they were photographs of teenagers, different parts of the city, multiple locations, based on timestamps recovered from the phones, all from that same night. I didn't say anything. She wrote something in her notepad and stood up. After she left, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. I'd spent the whole night trying to work out what I'd done. Why us? Whether it was the noise from the party, whether we'd matched some description, whether I specifically had done something that made me worth following alone. But the photographs weren't of anyone I recognized. Not from the party, not from the neighborhood, nobody's face I could place, which meant they hadn't been looking for us at all. We were loud and young and outside at midnight, and we'd crossed their path, and for a while we'd been worth pulling close to check. When they decided we weren't who they wanted, or when the sirens came, they left. There were people in other parts of that city whose faces were in that van. I don't know if any of them made it home that night.